YouTubers. So I was hoping to vlog on my trip from Delhi to Leh, but unfortunately that couldn't take place. But we're actually on our way back. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of us on bikes and 4 in a car, and we're just ready to leave Jispa. It's almost 12 in the afternoon. About a 5-6 hour ride to Manali. It's drizzling. We haven't had rain all throughout the entire trip since we left Delhi, but this is the first, and none of us are too happy about it. But this was a good hotel we stayed at. It's called Paga Riverview Hotel. Riverview, nice place, decent place, just right across the river. The current is pretty strong. We had 3 of our friends come in last night from Somareri who joined us, and the rest of us rode in from Leh. So yeah, enjoy the, hopefully I can get some good video on our route to Manali. Enjoy the trip. I'm on my way from Jispa to Manali, and it's drizzling on and off. I'm all wet. I've picked the wrong pair of gloves. Jacket's doing fine though. Very decent road. But yesterday we left Leh at 6:15 or 6:30 in the morning. And I think by the time we were able to pack up and leave, it was about 7, exact 7. So we left late around 7, and I'd have to say the most of the roads are in pretty good condition. And yeah, I've seen a lot of these thumbs up and wavings, and 3 Himalayans, not bad. But I saw a lot of Himalayans en route. In Leh, en route, starting off from Manali. I'm not quite sure whether they are just on rent or people actually riding up from Delhi. Surprisingly, there have been a lot of people who've ridden up from Mumbai, Maharashtra, and that's pretty commendable. I've seen a lot of bikes with Karnataka number plates, and yeah, so that's quite a feat, riding up all that distance. Overall, I think this bike has performed really well. I've been fairly impressed with what it's done. We have 3 Himalayans on our group. One's rented, and overall, I think it's performed really well. Minor issues, none of them actually. Just no punctures, no bits and pieces falling off, stuff like that. Off-roading has been a real pleasure on this bike. The only trouble that I faced with my bike was as we ascended, and the altitude hit the 14,000 15,000 feet mark, it started sputtering, it started losing power, and that's when I didn't know what to do, except, you could change the jets. Essentially that should be able to solve the problem, but at that point in time I wasn't carrying any, and then to do it en route to Leh, just opening up your carburetor, and, some of the route was fairly dusty. I just didn't want to get into it. I didn't even have a jet. So when we reached Leh, and so basically it wouldn't go above 3,000 RPM. It kept sputtering, it kept losing power. First gear, second gear, third gear. On Moray Plains, by the way, this was my first trip to Leh. On Moray Plains, I couldn't top 65, 70 max. That too, if I hit a slope, it'll probably reach 70. Otherwise, it'll come back to 60. So it was pretty annoying. I couldn't do anything about it. Anyway, when I got to Leh, I went to the Royal Enfield workshop that they have. And there was a nice gentleman by the name of Rinku over there, who's from Delhi. He's been there for a couple of days now. At least he was there for 3 days since before we got there. And he's he's going to be there for a while. I think Royal Enfield is running a workshop and he's going to probably stick around till the time they finish. And so we opened up the carb and saw that the Himalayan was running on a 125 jet, and we changed that to a 110. That definitely solved the issue. I was able to pull cleanly through 6,000, 7,000 RPM, no problem whatsoever. And since then, the bike has just been performing flawlessly in the hills. I had no problem in Tanglangla, I had no problem in Barlacha, I had no problem. Well, those are the highest passes. So that's something that you can consider. The other two bikes, surprisingly, the other two Himalayans, surprisingly, did not. Oops, I've come to reserve. Yeah, there we go. So the other two bikes, surprisingly, did not face the same issue while going to Leh. I mean, they started sputtering a bit, but that was more around the 5,500, 6,000 RPM mark, which is fair, which is all right if you're climbing. I mean, the bike will climb. I was facing a huge problem by climbing Tanglangla. I mean, 3,000 RPM is not much, and that climb is pretty steep. It goes all the way up to 17,000. I think 70,582 feet, and so I had some major issues. I just wouldn't climb. But I mean, if you left it in gear and you found that sweet spot in second or third, and it would slowly climb, but you just couldn't power up. So like I said, surprisingly, the other bikes didn't face that much of an issue. And so once I rejetted and I was headed back down, the second Himalayan started showing signs of was getting choked. It was just signs of not being able to do the climb. But that too, I think around the 4,500 mark. So I'm not sure how that kind of works, but that's the thing. And then it started eating, and so it was obvious that I started eating a lot of fuel on the way up. And so I used a full tank of fuel plus an extra 5 liters on my bike. And I wanted to see after rejetting if it made any difference, and obviously it would, because I mean, come on, you're running a 110 jet now. But the difference that it made is that I filled up in Leh, and I'm still running on that same tank of fuel, and I've passed Jispa. I think we just passed Keelong, or maybe we're about to, and I'm hoping that in reserve this will get me to Thundi. Well, let's see. I'm carrying extra fuel with me. I've got 5 liters lying. And if it does, I think that's pretty phenomenal. It's a 15-liter fuel tank. And from Leh to Jispa, it was about 332 kilometers when I saw the speedometer this morning. Bad roads, if you're coming from Leh, just before Barlacha, anything. So bad roads right after Pang. Horrible roads. Just there's construction going on everywhere. The roads they're rough, and you don't mind. I love riding on gravel and sand and loose sand. I mean, I find it easy. It doesn't shake my nerves as much as rain and wet roads do, but that's what I like. But this is, your bikes take a beating because it's a lot of washboard. So there's gravel, there's stone, and there's washboard, which is which really takes a beating. So if you have like Ladakh carriers fixed on your Enfields and they aren't great quality or they haven't been fixed properly, I mean, those things are going to break and fall off for sure. And trust me, you can't get you won't find a place to weld anything in between. So that's something to be mindful about. Dry roads finally. So that's something that you need to think about. Fortunately, no flat tires. I think the Himalayan tires are fantastic. For the other bikes, so there were actually three of our friends from Leh decided to go to Someri, and some of us are on a tight schedule. We need to catch flights back to US, so we couldn't join them for the fear that in case something went wrong, there's again nothing to fix, and then we have a flight to catch on the 19th. We got to get back to Delhi. So a couple of those guys went to Someri, and one had a couple of falls. He's all right. Bike's a bit taken a beating. They had 2 flat tires, one on an Impulse, one on an Enfield. Fortunately, they were carrying the right tools, and so yeah, that's again something that you need to think about is take along tire irons, rubber patches, or kit to fix a tubeless tire. Probably should carry some You definitely need to carry an air pump along. A foot pump should do well. Just stuff like that, just things that could go wrong. I think I may have carried a bit too much on my bike, for my bike, but it's rather be safe than sorry. I carried extra levers for my clutch, for the brake. Well, no, sorry, not for the brake. I carried a brake lever for a machismo that's riding with me. Clutch lever I carried because the first things that break actually when you fall are these. Fortunately, I didn't fall, but if I had to, one of the Himalayans did fall, and the fuel tanks took most of the fall. He didn't have a leg guard on his bike, and so fortunately these didn't break. This didn't break. I mean, you can ride without your front brake. You still have your rear brake in an emergency situation, but without the clutch, yeah, pretty much you're stuck. If you've never ridden with a wire old school, you're stuck. Another thing that you might want to do with your bike is get an extra clutch wire put, like I have. It's already routed through the bike to meet there below, and so in the event that it breaks, you don't have to worry about rerouting the entire thing all over again. You just open the older one and snap the new one into place. So yeah, I mean, these are just a few things that one can keep in mind. It's just helpful stuff along the way. I haven't encountered too many issues for me to share too much with you, but these are a few things that I've learned through doing some of my own research before I undertook this trip. I don't know how many of you may have already been to the fuel pump at Thandi, but this is what the board says. We're in Thandi, Sisu's another 22, Koksar 37, Rohtang top 57, Mari 74, Manali 108, Chandigarh 437, and Delhi is where I'm headed, 685. I'm gonna let the video roll and maybe show you guys what the Thandi fuel pump looks like, because I was trying to look out for images online, maybe a video online, just couldn't find much. And off-roading on this bike has been such a lot of fun. I know this is probably nothing compared to some of the stuff that you guys have done, but for me, it's good enough. That's the Thandi fuel pump. I'm so glad I made it. I didn't have to put fuel. Alright, so now that you guys have seen the Thandi fuel pump, catch you in my next video. Hopefully some more scenic beauty. Adios.